Hey, thank you so much for watching the last video. I really appreciate the feedback, and I've tried to encompass some of the suggestions that I've received. Luca, here's the shirt. Lighting, I'm trying to improve as well. Now, today I wanted to talk to you about the European Commission's proposal to reduce CO2 emissions in heavy-duty vehicles, meaning lorries or trucks or whatever you want to call them. I know, very, very sexy topic that I talk to you here. But the interesting thing is that, so the Commission has suggested in May to reduce CO2 emissions coming from heavy-duty vehicles by 15% until 2025 and by 30% until 2030. Now, it has to be mentioned that that last target will be subject to review in 2022, would it pass. Now, there seems to be two sides on this issue. You have one side claiming that it doesn't go far enough, and that the other side, of course, claiming it goes too far. Many members of the European Parliament and even some countries, including my own home country, Luxembourg, believe that it doesn't go far enough. They want to reach 40 or even 45% until 2030. Now, that's a considerable reduction of CO2 emissions. That means that we'll have to considerably increase technology-wise in terms of the infrastructure and the lorries that are actually sold. It has to be said that the Commission proposal also, and everybody seems to recognize this, doesn't achieve, it cannot be achieved technologically if the way we're moving on right now. Now, countries such as Germany, for instance, say that the reduction should only be 15%. And industry representatives and producers, they say that they can reach 7%. Now, those claiming that we should go up to 40% until 2030, they say that the industry, of course, they don't want to make any investment whatsoever, and 7% is only what they would do anyway until 2030. Now, if you ask politicians and bureaucrats about this rule and why they demand way more that seems feasible, they say that this is an incentive to be created towards the producer. So, for instance, if the producer says, oh, I can reach 7% until 2030, but if you then tell them, oh, we'll give you fines and you'll have this and that happening to you if you don't increase your technological advancements, then you will actually have a good reason to do so. But there is already a good reason to emit less CO2. Which of course is related to petrol use. There's no company in the world that wants their lorries to use more petrol than is absolutely necessary. The only prototype that has zero emissions right now is the Tesla model, which is an electric lorry, and it is only a prototype. And I'm absolutely certain that if this model was feasible to be sold on a large scale, companies would really jump on it. Because of course you'd have lower costs than you would if you were driving on petrol. So nobody is trying to pollute the air just for the sake of it. And that's something really important to know when we have this discussion. So we're just at the beginning of the stage of these debates regarding what the percentage exactly should be on heavy duty vehicles. My fear is that if we go too ambitious, and I believe we should be as realistic as possible. But if we're too ambitious, then that cost will be put on the consumer. Because if you need heavy investment in new technology, and if you're really trying to force these companies, the companies will either invest a lot where we don't know if the result is going to be there, which is going to cost a lot of money that the consumer will have to pay, or the companies will accept to pay the fines, which will then also be paid by the consumer. I don't think the consumer is really winning in any way by this. I think that we should take the natural way of how technology is developing in order to take a realistic approach to this issue. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll be covering another topic next week. Thanks.